What's up, gamers? CarmenRider here, back with another commentary. Remember when I said I'd cover Ephrom? Yeah, we're doing that today. The video is titled, Where in the World is CarmenRider? Yeah, I'm from that other geek show, by the way. Anyways, let's get into it.
Is 2023 just going to be the year of overly long self-defense commentaries where people use the dumbest arguments possible to defend actions that there's just clearly no defense for?
Ah yes, how dare people defend themselves instead of staying silent and letting my side lie about them.
8 fucking hours! That is how long CarmenRider's most recent video is. And yes, it is a video on the Septy drama from last year. Now, fair is fair, and Carmen does cover a lot in this video. However, wouldn't it have made more sense, especially with how long the video ended up being, to split this up into multiple videos covering only one video per commentary?
Well, you see, the video was originally going to be 4 hours long and end after Loon's segment. However, right after, Neko Koda doxed someone. Yeah, that skit where I nearly ended the video only for it to continue? That wasn't just a skit. The video really was planned to end there.
And yes, that thumbnail is an image of Septy stabbing himself.
I already explained this in the follow-up, I'm not repeating myself.
On top of all of that, the thumbnail was making fun of my suicide attempt.
No, it wasn't. Since the topic of the video was suicide, and you like Madness Combat, a Newgrounds thing, I referenced Nene, another Newgrounds thing.
I'm not going to be going over the entire video because, you know, it's 8 fucking hours and I have my limits.
Well, why not split it in multiple parts like you suggested?
However, I do want to address the segments on me specifically, the first of which being Carmen's criticism of my segment in Septy Paus's video on Carmen. So, let's begin!
Oh no, guys, look! It's Septy's emblem! That means the video is gonna get a copyright strike!
Hi, hello everybody, it's me, Ephrom, and I'm here to address the next couple of points considering, well, they're about me.
She's made comments that show that she's still torn about the situation. Firstly, she defended a video where someone actively downplayed her actions. He didn't. His point was that angry mobs are bad. You didn't like it because he lied by omission or something.
First off, Carmen, that wasn't the only point of Neko Koda's angry mob. In fact, there was one point where I did downplay your actions by saying you merely ignored Septy's suicidal feelings as opposed to being a factor behind their suicide attempt.
That's not downplaying, that's just an objective fact.
I think the thing I like most about that interjection is how there's no explanation at all, therefore making me wonder why exactly you even bothered to interject here in the first place.
Because you were saying that you saying me merely ignoring Septy was downplaying when it wasn't.
I can't read. Ah yes, flashing screenshots on screen with no context. Gotta love taking the prismatic exam. Here, I'll show them all here so you can properly read them yourself.
Oh, that's where screenshots are flashed? I thought you flashed them on the keyboard. My mistake. Also, I like how you go from getting onto Neko for saying I lied by omission, and attacking Neko for not getting the context of the screenshot she's using, accusing her of lying by omission.
Yeah, she did lie by omission.
You didn't.
Okay, this admittedly wasn't explained the best, but I was more commenting on how dismissive he sounded regarding those accusations to the point of essentially saying they're self-evidently ridiculous, only to go on and make the exact same accusations yourself. I wasn't really commenting on the validity of the accusation, I was just pointing out the irony.
Then wouldn't that make your interjection useless too? I mean, you criticize me for useless interjections, meanwhile you interjected with a joke disguised as an argument. Which sounds like 90% of CinemaSins if I'm being honest.
As you can see, none of these prove that I drove Septy to suicide. It doesn't prove your point at all.
And the fact that you berated them just before their suicide attempt is what? An incredibly unfortunate coincidence?
No. Like I said, if it wasn't me, given Septy's temper, someone else would have been the cause.
I find how you word that incredibly telling. Up until this point, I assume your argument has been that you weren't the cause. Now you're saying that you were the cause, but that it doesn't matter because Septy is just crazy or something.
No, my argument was, I wasn't the cause, but even if I was, they were on the verge anyways.
I should also note that nobody has denied Septy's mental instability. However, what everyone has argued is that you acted incredibly irresponsibly during this situation. And now you trying to brush it off as, well, somebody else would have acted irresponsibly is nothing more than pure deflection.
That's not a deflection, that's just an objective fact. Even you acknowledge Septy's instability, yet somehow just brush that off, acting like they're just like everyone else.
You have to explain why Ephrom was wrong. But let's be real, this is only included because Septy has a hate boner for Ephrom. Why do they have a hate boner for Ephrom? Because I think the sole reason people think they're a communist or a dictator is because of Ephrom.
Wait, people think Septy's a dictator of what country?
I didn't mean literally. I meant that they have dictator-like ideologies.
What the fuck is a dictator-like ideology?
An oppressive ideology that believes that people shouldn't question things and should always bow down to their government/local faceless megacorp.
Because of this one line he said in response to Kumo's second video on.
First off, it's good to see that we have a totalitarian in this video.
Septy, everyone can't just say, Septy's totalitarian, and expect everyone to believe it.
Septy, you have to take turns in a conversation. I know for non-Americans and the mentally disabled, it's hard to socialize like a normal fucking human being, but you have to let others speak first.
Because conversations famously occur through YouTube videos.
My point was that Septy interjected in the middle of your segment instead of letting you talk.
Also, it was because I confused the words totalitarian with communist. A mistake on my part, but they're pretty much the same when you think about it.
No, it isn't. Totalitarianism is a derogatory term for cartoonishly authoritarian governments.
Yeah. Is that not what communist countries are?
Meanwhile, communism is an economic philosophy. Obviously, communist states can be totalitarian in nature, however, to say they're the same when you think about it is utterly nonsensical.
So, countries like China, North Korea, and Russia taking advantage of their people and controlling them is just a coincidence, then?
There has to be a reason for it.
Really? That's so interesting. I thought the reason people thought I called Septy a communist and a Nazi was because you told multiple people that I called Septy a communist and a Nazi.
Communist, yes, but Nazi, no.
Well, that's utter bullshit. In Carmen's call in Senate, she was specifically asked by Lio about the claim that Septy is a communist and a Nazi, and she said both of those claims originated from me. She did not make the distinction she's making now.
Constant grief, you're gonna have to elaborate.
Alright, something about calling them a Nazi or a communist or airing their personal business in a public server.
The Nazi-communist stuff came from Ephraim, first off.
Ephraim Josine.
One, I was responding to the moment Lio mentioned communism. Two, you do realize he put me in a socially tense situation, having his group gang up on me in a call, right? Of course I'm not gonna give a straight answer when I'm ganged up by multiple people like that.
But again, I mean, if you really think about it, they're pretty much the same thing.
Again, no, not really. Even if you break them down to their most basic assumptions, you find a lot of differences. Among them, that communism views itself as an extension of Enlightenment-era philosophy, while Nazism rejects Enlightenment-era philosophy outright. Communism views itself as a fight towards equality, while Nazism views equality as a bad goal, and I can go on.
I mean, they're both flawed ideologies that got terrible people in positions of power, so...
Robinson of the socialist website Current Affairs actually has a really good article going into this, while also reviewing Hitler's book, Mein Kampf.
Ah yes, a review of fucking Mein Kampf. My favorite nostalgia critic video. Also, a socialist website talking about communism? Totally not biased. Anywho, Ephraim goes on explaining the in and out of communism, which doesn't have anything to do with this drama, so we're moving on.
What I actually called Septy was a totalitarian, a moral relativist, and a nationalistic absolutist.
Yeah, the qualities of a dictator.
Wait, dictators are moral relativists? Since when, given one of the key qualities of authoritarian governance is enforcing your morality on the population? Why would a relativist, somebody who believes that there is no such thing as objective morality, also view their own moral code as so objectively correct it needs to be followed by every single member of the population of their country at the point of a gun?
Okay, I will admit I was confused on what moral relativist meant, but Septy doesn't even fall into that category, considering they call morals objective facts. So if anything, you disproved my point.
And I want to be very clear, I have no issue calling a Nazi a Nazi.
X. We all know that the term Nazi is so watered down nowadays.
Wouldn't the term being ubiquitous and generalized actually be more of a reason as to why I'd be comfortable calling Nazis Nazis as opposed to last?
I meant that you wouldn't be as selective calling someone a Nazi as you imply you are.
After all, the less specific something is, the more likely the person you're accusing is to fall into that category anyway.
So, you're willing to call someone a Nazi because they might seem like one? Just if a person has, like, one quality of one, but doesn't actually support Nazism, you'll just jump to that conclusion anyways?
For example, CarmenRider's collectivist ideology, especially her obsession with elite and a Nazi, put together with the fact that she seems to think common people are just manipulated by more powerful forces and can't form opinions on their own, we'll get to that in a minute, is far more fascistic than anything Septy ever said.
That's not fascist, that's just an objective fact. People in the world are manipulated by powerful people all the time. Might not always be governmental, but powerful nonetheless.
Yes, it is. Well, okay, depending on how exactly we're defining fascism. The most famous essay to define fascism is easily Umberto Eco's 1995 work, Fascism, published in the New Alternative Books, which outlines 14 unique characteristics of fascist ideology.
So, we're going based off of a book and not the definition you provided earlier? Why didn't you bring this book out earlier when calling me a fascist?
To quote from the essay, "To people who feel deprived of a clear social identity, fascism says their only privilege is the most common one, to be born in the same country. This is the origin of nationalism. Besides, the only ones who can provide an identity to the nation are its enemies. Thus, at the root of the fascist psychology, there is the obsession with a plot, possibly an international one. The followers must feel besieged. The easiest way to solve the plot is to appeal to xenophobia, but the plot must also come from the inside. Jews are usually the best target because they have the advantage of being at the same time inside and outside."
You see, there's a difference between fascism and recognizing someone is controlling your way of living behind the scenes. Now, obviously, being bigoted isn't the answer, no. being bigoted is what a fascist does. But just recognizing that connection and calling it out isn't fascist. I'm allowed to hate both Nazis and the rich and powerful Jews that control our way of living equally.
I'm more off-putting.
No, I'm more off-putting.
I'm more unattractive to put in a lead role.
Well, I'm a bigger box office drag.
Kids, you're both just awful.
And obviously I don't have a blanket hate for Jews, and there's that too. Because having that would be fascistic. Makes sense?
Fascism does have a long history of treating humans as little more than blank slates that are molded according to whoever can come around and manipulate them first.
Because they are? Again, that's not fascist, that's just how the world works.
I mentioned earlier that fascism has its roots in anti-Enlightenment thought, and this was also a trend that was seen in conservative arguments against the Enlightenment.
I mean, I am a conservative, but I'm also Catholic. How the fuck can I be anti-Enlightenment and also Catholic? Not to mention a lot of conservatives are Christian anyway, so there's that too. So then Ephraim talks about some weird thing that happened in France a long time ago, which I don't really care or know enough about, so I'm gonna skip ahead.
Because you say things like this. And how you like to tell people to leave the faceless megacorp alone.
That's corporatism, not fascism, you idiot.
Point is, I'm using these faceless megacorps because that's what the CCP did to Reddit.
Okay, first off, the Chinese Communist Party actually bears very little resemblance to historical communism.
Ah yes, the true communism hasn't been tried yet argument. It doesn't matter how little China actually resembles real communism, when they are literally called the Chinese Communist Party. You might, and that's a big might, be able to argue that China doesn't fully understand communism, keyword, might, but you cannot argue that China isn't communist when they literally call themselves commies in their name.
Also, I find ironic that your example is the Chinese Communist Party, given that the faceless megacorporation Septy defended was YouTube, which is blocked in China. As is Reddit, by the way.
I was using that as an example. Also, you do realize most Chinese citizens who actively use the internet use VPNs, right? The government knows this, but pretends not to. Basically to give the citizens a false sense of security, of thinking, yeah, I totally own the government, they can't track me now! When in reality, the government is still keeping a watchful eye. Also, that's not exactly gonna stop the CCP from forcing their ideals on the American people, nor is it gonna stop Chinese investors from funding Reddit. Happy Winnie the Pooh Man equals more money from Chinese investors, at the expense of its users.
Fuck, I read the article you put on screen, and it specifically notes how unlikely it is that this investment from a Chinese company is going to cause Reddit to start pushing Xi Jinping thought. Most analysts agree that it is unlikely Tencent or any other such investor would be able to control what content is posted on the site, but that hasn't stopped the stream of memes and protest messages appearing in the past few days.
Unlikely does not equal impossible.
Fuck, about 6 years before this story broke, the same company bought a large stake in Activision Blizzard, and famously did not turn every game that corporation made into communist propaganda.
So, we're just gonna pretend that the Blitzchung controversy never happened?
Fuck, in 2020, the Call of Duty series, the most famous series from Activision at the moment, released a game where you play as an American soldier during the Cold War.
So, like, one video game that most likely wasn't even released in China, because China has its own single Call of Duty, and thus Activision doesn't need to appeal to that market with the main series? But CarmenRider, Call of Duty Online shut down. Yes, it did, in favor of Call of Duty Mobile, which serves the same purpose. Now just on a global scale instead of a China-only scale.
Nice misgendering of Septy there.
As they proceed to pitch down my voice to make me sound more like a man when I'm clearly a woman. And then calling me by my dead name as mentioned in the original video.
Okay, well, those are Septy's bad actions, and I don't approve of those actions, to be clear, but since they aren't my actions, and we're talking about me, I have no idea what relevance they hold.
I mean, if Septy is allowed to blame Edge, Agents, Tommies, Loons, and my fans' actions on me, then shouldn't I be allowed to do the same with them and you?
Anyway, I was originally going to continue watching until Carmen said I'm somewhat of a dick. Thanks for the new Discord status, by the way. However, I can't refind that part, and I'm pretty sure it's been edited out of Carmen's video since then being a YouTube editor. If it hasn't been, Septy will play it now.
And I want to say this now, I don't exactly like Ephraim anymore. He's kind of a dick, but you didn't prove your point at all.
So let me explain real quick why Carmen thinks I'm somewhat of a dick. The same day Neko Coda Angry Mob came out, in fact shortly after it came out, I had a Discord call in what was then Nil server with Leo Convoy, Neko Coda, and through Septy. In it, I listened to what they had to say, critically thought it over, and changed my mind on the situation.
Yeah, I don't buy that. Considering how Lio behaves himself during drama, I'd assume it'd be impossible to think anything over when talking to him.
Fascinating. Do you have an actual argument against what I said?
Here's one. Earlier you said that powerful people manipulating the powerless was nothing more than a fascist belief. And now you say that Lio, a powerful person, manipulated/changed how you, a less powerful person, thought. You are living proof of my argument, and you didn't even notice it.
Obviously, I understand the implication is supposed to be that Lio took my Burger King burger and bullied it.
You think you're special?
Because, again, I cannot stress this enough, nobody can merely disagree with Carmen, there has to be some kind of ulterior motive, but even then, your lack of any kind of explanation as to what exactly you mean by this just makes this come off as so vague as to not actually mean anything. Look, to speak personally, I had known Lio for 4 years when this whole situation began, and throughout that time, I had known him as nothing but an honest, reasonable, and fair human being.
Ah yes, reasonable and fair. Like the time he insulted my friend for being friends with me. The time he told me to get in a one-person car accident. And the fact that this guy calls the police every other day over internet drama and wonders why the police no longer help him. If I was a cop, I wouldn't help him either.
I had even disagreed with him before, and when that happened, he was willing to talk things out with me.
X. Do I even need to explain why I think this is bullshit?
That was the catalyst for the pinned comment I left under the video criticizing many aspects of it. The next day, Carmen DM'd me on Discord and told me that I was letting Leo, Neko, and Septy walk all over me.
Oh, so you did block me, you asshole. Even after you outright told me I was a fun and relaxed person to talk to, and how you've grown to respect me, and now you do this shit. So yeah, of course I'm gonna think you're kind of a dick. I didn't want to show this at first because, you know, it would have been petty, and it's no one's business if I'm being honest. But since we're playing the petty personal issues game, I'm bringing this shit up.
Okay, Carmen, I'm going to explain this as clearly as I can, because this is a concept you seem to struggle with. So, after sending you those messages, I was exposed to new information, which caused me to change my mind.
So what you're saying is that one person talked to you, and now you magically meant nothing you said to me? Is that supposed to make you look like the good guy? But honestly, I dodged a bullet. More on that later.
And then I was told, and I could not make this up if I tried, that Hitler killed himself because he felt very, very bad for killing all those Jews.
The reason I brought that up was because Coda's excuse for political violence was the Holocaust wasn't solved with hugs and kisses, which I pointed out that it was Hitler killing himself that caused the war to end.
So did the entire Pacific Theater just not happen then?
I mean, they didn't exactly teach me that in high school.
Coda tried to counter this by saying that it was his army losing that made him commit suicide, which doesn't make any sense since I figured he'd at least be willing to go down with the ship and die by the enemy. And thus I explained the possible actual reason why. That his mental state deteriorated from, you know, leaving a trail of corpses.
So, how many people behind the Armenian genocide killed themselves out of curiosity? What about the Trail of Tears? How many people behind that took their own lives? Or how about the Rwandan genocide? How many people behind that committed suicide because of just how bad they felt?
Well, chances are those people had more mental stability than Hitler did. Obviously, a loser, nerdy art student isn't exactly gonna have the mind of an MTF agent, especially compared to people who dedicate their lives to political violence.
I never said he felt really bad about it.
Your exact words, in bold, were, genociding a bunch of people is gonna make you hate your life.
I will admit that's poor wording on my part, but I meant that he was suicidal due to his lowering mental state. You know, the same way a murderer would go crazy and just kill more people than themselves.
But let's look at another helper of theirs, the one who backstabbed me. Ephrom. They added my video defending myself to their worst commentaries of 2022 list. And we'll look at that entry right now. Let's get into it.
The whole drama, why is my video in portrait mode? It's not the biggest deal in the world, it's only the case for a few clips, however, it's still incredibly weird.
I was trying a new editing thing.
Between CarmenRider, Neko Coda, Septy, Lio Convoy, and I eventually got thrown in there, was a very long one with a lot of moving parts that, to be blunt, I don't have the time to recap right now.
Because doing so would make you look bad.
Or because the video was already 100 minutes and I didn't have the time to recap an entire drama on top of everything else I needed to talk about.
Hey, if I can make an 8-hour-long video, you can recap everything just fine.
Let's start with the most noticeable issue. The thumbnail for the video sees Neko Coda being raped. Carmen has explicitly said that is what this thumbnail is supposed to be. She even defended it at the end of her video.
Oh, and if you're here to get mad over the thumbnail, Septy made rape joke memes involving me and Coda as well, so yeah, don't be a Was showing that last part supposed to prove a point? If anything, you made yourself look like a hypocrite. But hey, at least you defended the person who blackmails and doxes children.
Okay, a couple things. First off, I played that clip just to prove that you said what I had mentioned you would claim. It was for the sake of context above all else. I then go on to explain my issue with this line of reasoning immediately after I cut back to myself. As for the point about how I defended Neko Coda, who also did some bad things, again, that's totally irrelevant.
What she did was doxing. Why would you want to defend a doxer at all?
I know for a fact you were inspired to make commentaries because of Just a Robot, so I'll explain this with a clip from him.
Before we go any further, I want to give you guys an example to counter the argument I know a lot of you who disagree with this video are going to make. Let's talk about George Remus, probably the most popular man during the Prohibition era. He illegally sold alcohol, bribed police officers and people who work in the American justice system, and worst of all, he killed his own wife. But if someone was slandering him with extra stuff, like him dressing up as a mall Santa and chasing after 12-year-old girls, which I'm pretty sure he didn't do, I can say, no, that isn't true. Am I defending him? Technically, but I'm not saying all the other stuff he did didn't happen.
You missed the point he was making. Jar's point was that you shouldn't add lies to already existing claims about someone. Nekokoda doxing someone wasn't a lie. Now, I don't want to go too deep into Nekokoda's doxing story because I'm gonna save that for a certain small child, so stay tuned.
I wish to remind you all that Nekokoda is a victim of rape. Carmen, and I really do mean this, the fuck is wrong with you?
I didn't do it because of the Omega. I did it to tie into the meme of me already wanting to fuck her. As stated earlier.
When did I say you did it because of the Omega? I just said you did this, and that Koda is a victim of rape.
You didn't say it, but you implied it.
Also, let's not forget the person you're defending did the same thing that you're getting on me for to me. But I guess it's okay for Septy to do it, just not me.
No, it's not in any way okay for Septy to do it, and in fact, when I found out that Septy did it, I not only cut them off—
Wait. You cut Septy off, but are still defending them. Why?
but also wrote a Tumblr post where I harshly criticized both Septy's actions and their justifications for them.
Ah yes, a Tumblr post that everyone is gonna see. I explained why this logic doesn't work in the video you're covering.
Oh, and they also called her an alcoholic and tried to hide it.
Now that's a lie.
I literally showed you doing it.
I didn't try to hide it. In fact, I openly admitted to it and apologized for it.
On Twitter, where your viewers aren't gonna see it. Wasn't that what MiniLad tried to do? He tried to apologize on Twitter where his viewers aren't gonna see it in hopes that he could still get away with it, but still have his fans say, well, he still apologized.
He talked about it on his Twitter 3 times, and he did admit to it as the 2 girls came out and said it. So do some research next time. He apologized on Twitter in front of 25 people. Why not apologize on YouTube? And the worst thing is that he's ignoring it. He's pretending this didn't happen. His comment sections are filled with MiniLabs. Talk about it. We know what you did. We know what you did. Everyone knows. He's already bleeding subscribers. He's losing subscribers left and right. Pathetic. I don't care that he apologized on Twitter. He should apologize on YouTube. Believe it or not, not all of your fans know what you did, MiniLabs. Just come forward. Your fans are truly pathetic.
For defense, I should note, doesn't even make any sense of the comparison because Septy was doing it for the sake of a meme while Carmen was just depicting it.
We both did it for a meme.
Yeah, I firmly believe this is a post hoc justification you made up after the fact. Between the various screenshots we have where you never try and tie it into the meme of you wanting to fuck Koda.
Because I thought that would be obvious. Also nice to see Perry still doing gay ops. It's been a year and you're still hung up on me.
Other highlights include her heavily implying that Lyo Convoy is a pedophile because he's against Lolicon. I'm not kidding, that's honest to God one of her reasons.
Even though after I said I don't think he's a pedophile?
And as I go on to say, when somebody else did the same thing, you didn't believe them, so why should we believe you?
Because they never clarified in the same way I did.
In between playing 7 minutes worth of people on his side being pedophiles, I guess, I assume that was the point of that segment, and calling him somebody who evades and helps pedophiles, albeit accidentally.
Starting off, Lyo got banned from Harley's server for doxing predators. You may think, why care about predators? And to that I say, I don't. But staying outside of your legal limit can cause problems for any possible investigation. An investigation is what you want to happen when exposing child molesters. That way the offender can get put in jail for their crimes. This proves that either Lyo is only exposing nonsense for clout, or is completely and dangerously more irresponsible than I allegedly am. He also likes adopting underage girls off the internet as daughters. He also helped a girl move out of a troubled home, and in doing so, foolishly and accidentally forced the girl into the home of her groomer via GoFundMe. And when rightfully questioned, Lyle lied, saying he made a police report and the police did nothing. Yet he provided no proof of the report existing. People then rightfully called him out on his behavior. He got defensive and tried to fuck with people who dare raise questions against him. Oh, and he doxed an underage girl because she got mad at him. Basically trying to ruin her life to teach her a lesson. Oh, and the Senate is infamous for starting raids against randos on 4chan.
Oh, by the way, yeah, all of her sources for those claims are just anonymous 4chan posts. Great research skills there, Carmen.
So, are we just gonna ignore the genuine detective work 4chan has done in the past?
And yet they still haven't found Go for a Punch or Kekrok? I'm calling bullshit.
You do realize those were both hoaxes, right?
Okay, to be serious, I won't deny that there are people on 4chan who have done legitimate detective work. I'm in the lost media community, after all.
Because trying to find the Xevious movie, the Ultraman Jonius pilot dub, and the Bioman adaptation is clearly detective work. Not trying to insult anyone who finds lost media or anything, but by true detective work, I meant like actual crime stuff.
However, that doesn't mean that you should automatically believe everything you read from anonymous posters on 4chan just because some of them have done good detective work.
Okay, well, that wasn't my point. My point was that some things shouldn't be automatically dismissed because it came from 4chan.
I should also note that Carmen can't even report on these screenshots correctly. This one, for example, doesn't say that Lio tried to get Mintheart, who was the actual girl, by the way, I don't know why Carmen didn't say her name,
Because it wasn't in the post.
into the home of her groomer. Just that Joshua Vita, who was Mintheart's groomer, was involved with the GoFundMe.
He was involved in helping a girl secretly move out of state with his friend, Josh Vita. How else am I supposed to interpret that?
That he and his friend Josh Vita were involved with helping somebody secretly move out of state.
Okay, well, when I and literally anyone hears anything about a teenage girl moving out with the help of a guy, obviously I'm gonna assume she's moving in with him. Can you really blame me? There have been stories of groomers trying to move in with their victims before. That's what Arnold Castillo tried to do.
Those are very different statements. Now, Vita was involved with that GoFundMe, don't get me wrong. In fact, he started. And for that matter, Lio didn't work with him. So why did Lio work with a groomer? Because he didn't know Vita was a groomer.
I want to be clear about something here. None of us knew that Joshua was doing all this stuff with kids. If I had known, I would have drowned him at BronyCon myself.
You'd think that someone who keeps a Wireshark open on every call he's in would know a bit about the people he hangs out with, but I guess not.
You do know this entire thing was happening behind closed doors, right? Primarily in DMs between Vita and the person he was grooming. As such, this begs the question of, how was Lio supposed to get this information? By quite literally hacking into one of these two people's accounts?
And you do know how Lio tries to sell himself as a hacker man, yet he uses very basic software that literally any ClearNet user can use. Suddenly, the do-good hacker man is clearly just a normie script kiddie from the looks of it.
As for the claim that Lio adopts underage girls, well, that's just not true. Lio has 4 people he considers his children, all of whom are adults when he took them in, and one of whom is not even a girl.
Okay, well that just sounds even more like he's trying to fuck.
But it removes the implication of pedophilia, which I was both saying you were putting forward dishonestly and arguing against.
I literally said he wasn't a pedophile.
And a presumed femboy?
The guy in question is Jordan, who is a transgender man. What the fuck, Carmen?
What does Jordan being trans have to do with this?
My guy, around these parts we call that a sugar daddy. Don't believe me? Notice how in every call Lio is in, except for the manga common one, that Lio has some lady friend helping him out? Even when the lady friend isn't even involved in the drama? It's almost as if he's trying to impress the fuck.
That's his wife, you fucking dumbass.
Okay, well, which one? Because I've seen him in calls with like 3 women. Queen Seraphina, Ponder Sprocket, and Peaches. Or is he just in a collective poly relationship with all of them? Not that it matters, since I don't remember the time Ponder Sprocket was involved in the Chaos 55D situation, or Peaches being involved with Spoctor.
This put together with the fact that this is the video that brought Koda's cheating allegations to the public.
Wow, it's almost as if being a cheating whore is bad.
Okay, first off, Koda's not a cheater. This has been thoroughly disproven since those accusations came out.
Last time I checked, Neko Koda tweeted about it a couple of times and never addressed this publicly. And as we know, her Twitter is gone.
Allegations which Carmen had no right to bring forward, especially without doing any kind of journalistic inquiry, which she later admitted to me she didn't do, meaning she was doing nothing more but passing along rumors.
Ephron, you're a journalist. Your entire job revolves around passing around rumors.
There's a reason why I use the phrase journalistic inquiry. Yeah, journalists are supposed to pass along rumors after they look into them and determine if there's any truth to them.
Yeah, given the amount of clickbait in the world, I highly fucking doubt that. Journalism is a dead industry. Get a real job.
If you like it, then you should've got a fast pass. If you like it, then you should've got a fast pass. Don't you hate on me because you came in like...
I think what especially gets me about this video is, it's just obvious that Carmen is in the wrong here. It is pathetically obvious to anybody who understands the situation that Carmen was the bad party. And all she had to do is say, yeah, you're right, I was insensitive, I apologize. And most people maybe wouldn't have forgiven her, but at the very least, wouldn't have held a grudge against her. Instead, she doubled down and doubled down and doubled down and doubled down.
Except I did apologize. And I still had people hold a grudge against me. And it wasn't until I doubled down that people started listening to my side of the story.
Let's talk about that apology, Carmen. For those who don't know, Carmen is talking about a video called A Message to Everyone, which she uploaded onto her channel and has since unlisted. It is a text-only video where she does do a very simple apology to several people she has hurt. She also took time for that apology to attack Fry and Just 2 and Lio Contra, along with Nikki Kira.
Wow, it's almost as if stalking and targeted harassment is bad. Also, I did apologize like you said, so you proved yourself wrong.
Anyway, Carmen goes on to do this really long fucking game theory intro parody. I'm going to be skipping this. However, I do want to address what she says after, because as established before, nobody can merely disagree with Carmen, they always have to have some ulterior motive. And Carmen thinks she figured out mine.
In all seriousness, I've got a scoop. So Neko Koda at some point told me that Ephraim had allegations of him being a zoophile. Now, knowing that Septy and Koda have been buddying up during this drama, I wouldn't be surprised if Septy Paws presented these allegations to Ephraim and said, "Help me or I'm going to spread these further." Granted, these allegations are very bogus, but obviously no commentator wants to deal with them. And as we all learned from the Just a Robot allegations, that even when you're in the right, people will still assume the lies about you are true because reasons.
That didn't happen. In fact, I don't even remember either Koda or Septy bringing these accusations up during this entire situation.
Well, it's a good thing it's just a theory then, because I have something even grimier on you, so don't worry.
Situation. The only person in that circle who did mention them, at all to my knowledge, was Lio, who mentioned them to me in a call with me, which basically only happened so he could get the confirmation they were utter bullshit. For those unaware, these accusations came from me making various tweets on a public Twitter account, by the way, raising the question of what could Septy and Koda do if I did agree to this deal that Carmen made up.
You do realize people have been cancelled over old public tweets before, right? Anywho, Ephraim allegations, that's what we got on the menu for today. Well, a user from my server came to me and told me that Space Guru 5 actually called out Ephraim in a tweet for allegedly sexually harassing Fractured Light. Ephraim even allegedly went so far to convince Fractured Light that he was gay and not bisexual, and even got frustrated when Light talked about liking women. Also, apparently the server that this allegedly happened in has rules about leaking screenshots, which is stupid in this case, that they can't make an exception here due to the fact that this is not only sexual harassment, but also biphobia. Now frankly, I think the toes of the server kinda deserve to be stepped on if this is happening and being brushed under the rug, but whatever. I'm not surprised that a Neo-CC server is complacent with this sort of thing. Now, could this be wrong? Maybe. But that's why I'm saying alleged, so Ephraim can weigh in for himself. Now, before we go, a few updates, since this is an episode in the Immigrant Saga after all. After my video talking about the Aftermath came out, Edge actually confronted Kirito in a DM, and this is what he said.
To be honest, the reason I dead-named her and figured out the dead name because it was pixelated is also because I wanted to piss her off, but the cost of putting dirt on Septy on purpose and framing them.
I didn't frame anyone. I showed proof for all the things Septy did.
I was even told several times to not pull anything stupid, but I did them anyway intended.
So you can't follow basic instructions.
No, I'm not in the GC Septy was in. That's not where the dead name comes from. The last GC I left was the studio needing more one.
Which was the GC I was referring to.
I have been taking my medication today to calm my mind from high anxiety and constant emotional stress.
Huh. I wonder why everyone around Septy is always mentally unwell. It's so weird. First Neko Koda and now Kirito? Huh, that's so odd. It's almost as if Septy just radiates negative energy wherever they go.
I am mentally ill.
You got that right.
And fucked in the head without medication.
Oh, scary! Oh, shiver my timbers! Shut up, man!
A trans male who is my ex from 2022. He used me to wrong people like Lyle Convoy, Galbanum, Kadavri, Nil, and Septy, and dead name Gal, because he thought that Gal would use his dead name first. That's why I'm becoming transphobic for that reason.
Ah yes, admitting to transphobia. This is the most mentally stable Septypaw supporter, and that's only 75% of a joke. Also, Kirito admits to being transphobic, yet is friends with Nil, a trans woman, friends with Septy, a non-binary person, and he made a video calling the Guilty Gear community transphobic for criticizing the devs for rewriting an established character as trans to kneel to the Twitter freaks. But I guess according to Septy and Kirito, it's okay to be transphobic, just to those you hate.
My other reason that I'm sexist is because my teachers were females and they gave me bad treatment throughout my life.
What do I even say at this point? Kirito's practically digging his own grave here. Now, I'm not gonna claim your ex is a good person. Granted, I think Lio and Septy deserve all the negatives they get, but whatever. And you know, I don't know what he did. And obviously your teachers need to go under the jail. But how about instead of blaming identities, you blame specific people?
She was being deflective, like saying, what are you getting at?
I wasn't. I was asking what you meant. Also, after the previous video came out, this tweet was released by Septy.
I'm going to start making art content soon. Truth be told, the drama commentary is getting old and tiresome.
It's so weird that after I reported on the statement they made about not watching my video, they left a drama. Yeah, it's so weird, almost as if this is a shield for them to not cover my video, or just the fact that they tried to murder me, openly lied to me, tried to talk their way out of confronting that they lied about me, called my girlfriend an alcoholic, harassed Redgear over the Neko Coda stuff, gaslit Loon, lied about gaslighting Loon, claiming Loon is a child, even though I was the one who first said gaslighting when we talked about it in the GC, dead-named me, acted proud to Loon when they dead-named me, lied about being an auntie, cropped parts out of their videos to make themselves look better, and a whole lot of other shit. But that's all in the true Septy pause. Now, one suggestion I've gotten is to incorporate timestamps to everything, and I might actually do that. Oh, and as of right now, I put the Kuromi video on Mega and updated the description of the video to include that Mega upload to download. And I also did it with the Petrol Huffer video since Petrol Huffer got terminated. Odd. Oh, and when Septy said they'd stop drama, yeah, they didn't stop doing that. Because for Septy's April Fool's joke, they posted a fake apology video to me. But CarmenRider, Septy Paws didn't mention you. And it would seem that way at first, but looking at the original upload title, yeah, they fully mentioned me by name. Now, because of that, I took this joke and made this legendary video in response. Go ahead, watch it, and share the love. But it was only after that video Septy did. Now, it's nothing of note, really, but there is an interesting conversation between Kirato and Septy in the comments of that video. Let's look, shall we?
Lol, what happened? First you put Carmen in the title, then change it to insert name here.
No, they put insert name.
After Carmen made an April Fool's about you, like, are you giving up?
No, they just got caught.
Oh, and remember to get your life together like you told me.
Yeah, Septy, get your life together.
I literally said I'm changing the title in the chat as it was only bait.
Nah, you got caught and tried to backtrack.
And yeah, get your life together and stop being chronically online.
Honey, are you like talking in the mirror again?
Shut up, bitch, and give me my chicken paprika's before I put the shit out of you and on the wall again.
But it wasn't bait when Carmen caught on to you? Are you gonna prove against the claims?
Yeah, Septy, are you gonna prove against the claims? Whatever that means.
I literally said it in the chat. Carmen's video gave me exactly what I wanted. More stuff to incriminate herself.
You do realize everything I said in that video was stuff said to me, just directed back at you, right?
And she did exactly that.
Oh right, you didn't even ask me how I know the dead name.
Actually, how did you? I don't remember telling you.
X. Anywho, I'm gonna skip the next comment because basically Kirato tries dead-naming me without actually saying the dead name, and as stated previously, I don't want people knowing my dead name.
So you're telling me you guessed?
Yes.
Still not okay to dead name people.
Yeah, Kirato, it's only okay when I do it. So didn't you fucking dead name me? And now you're pitching down my voice to sound like a man. Oh, and according to this message and meme you sent to Loon, you were clearly proud of dead naming me. So not only were you being transphobic, but you were proud of it. You were proud of being transphobic. Yet somehow I'm the problem because I accidentally called you he.
You did that on your own volition. I'll make that very clear.
Huh. I guess Septy's making another video. I wonder what excuses they'll use for their unforgivable behavior this time.
Yeah, I did. Edge understands where the big tree comes from, even when I told him about it.
You do realize you upset him greatly over that, right?
Virgo here in place of Carmen to give a post-edit in regards to Carito. This happened the literal moment this video was about to be uploaded. Carito messaged Edge before this video was about to start uploading. Oh, and if my voice sounds off, it's because Carmen is testing a new vocal server. I cut ties with Septy as they kept calling Carmen and you corrupted degenerates. So only now did you suddenly start giving a shit about Carmen? Only after your now former immigrant friend got pissy at you because of your friendship with Edge did you start siding with Carmen. I can't tell if that's hilarious karma or a kick to the face. Discriminates me for being a femboy because of my appearance in videos and how it can give children nightmares. Now you finally learned why being bigoted is bad. Take this as a learning experience and the existence of this video as punishment. I thought resolving with Septy, but what I get is them testing me to get me to have self-reflection when they don't know how self-reflection works. Septy will never learn from their actions. Understanding that will make you understand why we don't give them the benefit of the doubt, and why all we should do is warn others and keep distance. After that, Carito messaged this. Edge, I shouldn't apologize because I think it is right for me to say those. But deep down, I really wanted to apologize for being transphobic, dead naming her when it's a guess, but it's no excuse as she doesn't deserve it. For Krachevskoy's sake, take a grammar class. Anyways, if you wish to make it up with her, feel free to gay op Septy's side for us. Just be quick before they delete everything like they always do. Realizing that preferred pronouns are important for being sexist against women because I used the trauma as a weapon. In the words of the man who irreparably damaged comedy and dark humor, he's a little confused, but he's got the spirit. The same way as I used the trauma that my ex put me through as a weapon also, and putting dirt on Septy on purpose for dead naming her under my own volition. Both me and Septy should have realized that we are fighting Carmen in a losing battle, knowing that it can't solve anything. Well, I guess Carito learned his lesson. I think. Anyways, now back to your regularly scheduled social outcasting.
Anywho, after the April Fool's video I made, Edge got these DMs from Fractured Light. Pause and read if you like, but turns out that Ephromm's sexual harassment got him booted from the server Space Guru 5 mentioned in those tweets. And Fractured Light was the one who actually got them to keep things under wraps. I'm not sure why you'd want to keep it under wraps, but either way, I cannot in good faith let this go unexposed. Even if Ephromm promised to never do it again, people like these don't just stop being creeps. People who commit sex crimes will only continue to do more sex crimes. Here, I have some examples. There's another YouTuber on the platform known as Dam, or Damify, or Perperator, Dexonic. He was involved with the YouTube verification account scandal that happened some years back. Dam basically had a habit of buying a new account, DMing underage girls for sexual favors and other stuff. And when he got exposed for it, he'd buy and rebrand a new account, make content, and do the same thing all over again. Now, despite being caught multiple times and even making an apology video about it, they just kept on doing it. And they're still gonna do it because their latest account, Damn Minecraft, is still on YouTube making content, presumably for teens. If you want to know more, The Cursed Judge has 2 videos on it. The other example I have is more of an IRL example that is an online one, but it's still an example nonetheless. The example in question is from a Skeeter Jean video I was watching while making this video. Basically, the predator in question was shown that not only did he attempt to meet a supposed underage girl for sex, but also was already on the sex offender registry for, guess what, trying to meet an underage girl for sex. And despite being a registered sex offender, meaning he went to jail, and having so many restrictions on his life from being a sex offender, he still decided to do the same thing that got him in trouble again. Again, link to the video is in the description. Now, yes, I know Ephromm isn't a nonce, but he is someone who committed a sex crime. Yes, sexual harassment is a sex crime, meaning he is gonna do it again. Maybe not under his Ephromm name, maybe under a different name. Who knows? Either way, I cannot in good conscience let this go unpunished and unacknowledged. I may dislike Fractured Light, but no one deserves sexual harassment. Oh yeah, and also one of the people against me in this drama, and someone Raven Pine supports, Coyote Lovely, dated hypnotist Sappho, a self-admitted zoophile, and Matt. Wow, first we got a faux hackerman who befriended a groomer, a man who sexually harassed a bi guy into being gay, a self-admitted transphobe, a person who doxes children, and a supporter of a pedophile zoophile? It's such a weird coincidence that all the people who sided with Septy and Lio are horrible people. Could this truly be a coincidence? Unfortunately, at this moment in time, that's not up for me to decide. If only I had Lio's faux hackerman skills. Anyways, gamers, have a good night.
Lay down to die, and with these broken wings, I'm sailing up to the sky. We'll never take the easy road, we'll never skip a single step for the bond.